Oh, okay. These are both really important. How do you discern between what is truly yours and what is inherited from your lineage?
Ooh, that's some good ones. That's getting into the woo, my microphone. That's getting into the good stuff with all this ancestral, like how we're impacted by our people. So for me, and so I'm talking about me and then kind of how I share it and teach it with others, is there that discernment piece is takes some time to learn, I have found for most people. Well, a lot of us have been raised in this lifetime and others to not trust our own intuition, right? Or we've lost our inner knowing. We've lost that. And we're in this lifetime getting it back. So there are some ways that you can really start to expand that. One way is like really feeling the sensations in your body. Like when you start to feel expansion or feelings of openness versus contraction, that those are data sets. Those are intuitive data sets showing you discernment, right? So if you're asking like this guy on my shoulder who keep is this, if you're asking like, did this come from my father? You may get a feeling in your body that's an opening or a closing. Your body may
Hmm.
sway. You may get a pure yes or no, like feelings of a yes or a no. But the I think we forget that our intuition isn't uh, is way beyond like when we say like clairvoyant, clair whatever. I always forget all the names of those things. But like they it could be an inner knowing or it could be a physical sensation that's coming through your body telling you yes, or
Yeah.
opening or contracting. We forget that that's intuition working. We're getting, we are connecting with our inner knowing through that. We can sense, sometimes we can really sense someone's other's energy within us. Like the little guy on the shoulder, I know is not yours, Brian. You inherited that. And so I have a knowing, but as I go into it and I start to go through and see where did that come from, I can see some past lives where that came from, that you inherited that through these past lives. And I can see where in your, let's say, human lineage, this lineage, where that came from as well. And I can say it or I can keep it private and tell you later.
Oh, no, I'm an open book.
Okay. So like that knowing and again, I've developed it over time like you have where the knowing is just so clear. But in originally I had to feel it in my body. I had to feel the yes or the no. I had to ask for the sensation to come forward to get it. I had to get very clear on is this my energy or someone else's and all of that. So you have had so starting with like some of your past lives going with this one, you have had a handful of past lives where you were dismissed. Like I see a couple of them when you were like soldier like and you were trying to get the attention of, let's say, the higher ups because you knew things were coming and they dismissed you. So you were not able, like you were like, hey, the British are coming or whatever it is, like I don't it's not that lifetime. These are like different lands I can see. Like I can see one of the lands is African, like tribe on tribe kind of warfare type of African. And another one, it does feel Egyptian and Roman. Like I'm seeing a couple different options, a couple different things. But there's one that's like Turkish too, where you have these hats, these very distinct hats. But these lifetimes where you were always overlooked from getting the higher positions, but you had the intelligence and the ability and the knowing that was needed to be able to like have the foresight to win the battles, but you're always overlooked in those lifetimes. And these are a lot of these are military, which is very interesting. And every time I see you, I always mean to ask if you were ever in the military because I always see that in you.
No, as a matter of fact, I hate the military
Interesting. Interesting.
because I
Uh,
think because I think we're fighting for the wrong reasons, obviously.
true.
We're not being told the truth on that. And
True.
I mean, when are we going to when are we going to quit celebrating war? Why don't we celebrate peace? I mean, sure, these people in these times sacrificed because those were the times that were things that were needed at the time. But we gotta celebrate when we don't have to make those sacrifices because we're not on that
Yeah.
vibration anymore of wanting to go to war. And
Hmm.
that's the thing about raising your vibration too, because none of those negative things can come into play. War, hate,
Mm-mm.
greed, envy, ego, um, all
Yeah.
the things that hold us back. So no, I don't like the army at all.
Wow. Well, it's so interesting because you've had many lifetimes of being a military person, like
Well, maybe
soldier.
I figured it out.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe that's the good part you brought forward into this lifetime is to you
This
just
is
like,
this is crap.
yeah, because you got the shaft. In these lifetimes, you got the shaft. And
So
it
I'm
was
gonna
like,
shaft them, but baby, I'm gonna.
there you go. There you go. That's it. So it's interesting because again, this energy of being dismissed, that like you could see the bigger picture. You could see like how to win the battle or whatever it was.
You know
But
what? I've still got that now
mm,
because I mean I'm trying. Hopefully, I sound humble, but I've got a lot of abilities and a lot of creative abilities
mhm,
that are really evolved or whatever. Like,
yes.
and I feel dismissed sometimes, but it's also
Hmm.
my that little guy on my shoulder,
Yes.
and also like because my mind is everywhere and I just get there's lots of reasons for it, but I feel like I haven't lived up nearly to it. I'm doing the work I'm supposed to be doing, but I think I've got a lot more potential in a lot of ways than I've shown because of that little guy on the shoulder
Hmm.
and different things we talked about. But I guess that's the story with everybody, right?
I mean, we all have it in our own ways. But I know people who don't have the little guy on their shoulder. I know I've seen and I know people, they have their own ways of, their own stuff and how they deal and cope and everything. But those lifetimes you carried that energy of being dismissed, knowing and being capable of bigger things or whatever we call it, but being dismissed. And also remember, you probably, gosh, I don't know I can imagine what you were like in grade school. You probably couldn't sit still or have your energy. You were just like, you had so much going on in your head and so much you wanted to bring forward, but you couldn't fit in the cookie cutter factory of the school, probably
Right.
like your whole life, right? So, and then that messes up your self-esteem for sure. So you have it in this lifetime and getting messed up there, and then you have it in these old lifetimes, and plus and so when I track, so you have that and you carry that through to this lifetime, okay, from those lifetimes. Then you also in your lineage, it's very interesting, and this is going to sound, and I'm just going to put it out there, and you'll see how you resonate with this. But your grandmother keeps on coming forward, and it's your mother's mother that keeps on coming forward. So I'm asking her, like, okay, did you gift this to Brian? Did you pass this down to Brian? There's like a criticism piece, like in that lineage, that you took things as criticism. And it feels like in that lineage, they were more matter of fact kind of people. But when you're a sensitive, you can take it differently than what
Hmm.
they say, what they intend. But the criticism piece, it was just like there's just a lot of like black and whiteness and not a lot of soft, like, and how they communicated things. So there was like a critical angle too from like your grandmother that then also is attached to this with you being a kid who didn't fit into the school regimen, and ways of being. So it's kind of like this mix of stuff here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so grandma, I'm just tuning into grandma right now more because she just keeps on coming forward and she's carrying a lot of guilt, a lot of guilt. And part of it was the way she treated her children and the way she treated her grandchildren. There's that piece there that she's carrying. She doesn't feel like she's actually crossed over. Like it doesn't feel like she's because she's holding on to all these pieces right now that are keeping her locked in and not liberating her soul. So you feel that. You're feeling it's heavy. When I connect with your grandma and then I connect with your energy, I feel like you're getting pushed down. Like there's a heaviness. And there's like, and you're interpreting it as like taking on the burden of the family, like holding the wounds or the emotions of the family because they couldn't be emotional. They couldn't tap into emotion, you know? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of that that's coming forward around it. I thought we were going to do more Sasquatch lineage stuff, but now we're getting into your personal stuff
Well,
here.
I do want the Sasquatch lineage stuff for sure.
Okay,
Well, I
we
mean,
will.
no, whatever. I mean, wherever it goes, right?
Yeah. But grandma, I can release this one. We would have to offline privately someday do more of a death rites for your grandma to help her transition and liberate her soul into her next whatever that's going to be. She's kind of lingering around a lot, but we can clean up this piece. Like I can't clean up the guilt piece because that's will take the death rites to do. It'll take a long process for her awakening to how she's holding back. But what we can release is her piece with you and how she's holding it within the lineage. So I'm just tapping into that really quick. And this then gets passed down to any children. So if you have siblings and their children or any of your children, like children's children, any of that, it gets passed down to future generations too. So this like God, she's like hard on herself and hard on others, like that critical kind of voice energy where I'm waking her up to right now. That's connected to her own guilt. Ooh, and being a certain way, showing up a certain way. So, okay. So when I do this work, I'm also tuning into the hearts, like your heart, your grandmother's heart, anyone else in the lineage that may be impacted by this, to see if there's a yes to want to let this go. So we can fully release this and it not get called back in.
I'm
And you
feeling
have,
like I'm getting that, yes.
yeah, you have it strong. You have it strong. Your mother has it strong. Your grandmother's getting there. And some of the younger generations they're much more clean. Like they're much more open. They're already a yes. And if you have siblings, there's one you have siblings?
I've got two sisters, but one's deceased.
Okay. Yeah, in our work it doesn't matter if they're alive or not in terms of like
No, I
they
know.
could still be holding it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, because there's one that's really holding on strong. That it's a part of her identity. Really strong. She actually that okay, well, I'm going to hold that privately to you because I don't want to bring in other people's business into this. But I'll tell you about the one sister later and what energy she's holding. But okay. Good. Good. Now your grandmother's waking up to it and I'm watching her. She's winding up energy. She's kind of like spiraling energy to pull her energy out of you guys. So like she's spiraling it to pull the energy of this criticism, this hard on her people energy. Yeah, and it started with her mother. It started with her mother, actually her mother's mother. So her mother, her grandmother, her grandmother. Yeah. Okay. So it's going to go all the way back there to clean up. Good.
Back to her grandmother.
Yes.
Her grandmother. That's a long way back, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 And I'm just looking at, okay, so that's getting cleaned up, but I'm going back into those past lives because I wanted to see with those past lives if there's any thread that we can clean up from that dismiss energy, being overlooked, not being taken seriously kind of energy. And I'm just pulling up any lifetime that's been a thing for you. And I don't think you were not being humble at all. I think you were speaking truth in how that shows up in your life now. But I think the book was really empowering for you to really bring speaking your truth, and bringing that forward because that showed to me it's like in within our 3D structure, people gained a lot of respect for what you had to say because you put something out there like that. You weren't just speaking it. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
brought it forward in a scholarly way, whatever, that means, you know. Wow, this just liberated your whole those all those lifetimes. Yeah, good. Okay, so that's all getting cleaned up. So you may start to feel a shift in you if you're ever thinking about that dismissive energy in the future. We'll see how that kind of shows up in your life, dissolving any agreements around it. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, that
Wow.
just happened.
I didn't expect this, but that's a great bonus. Yeah.